Ethereum has gone up by more than 100% in 2 months. Right now, if you missed the boat with Ethereum, then these 5 altcoins will give a higher return. And in this video, we're going to discuss which 5 altcoins those are, what we can expect from them, and how you should be buying them. Let's get started. Before we continue with this episode, I'd like to ask you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. More than 40% of the people that are watching aren't subscribed. And if you become a subscriber, then I agree and I confirm that we continue to build out the content that we create and even improve that even more with active trading and more to make your journey more pleasant and more joyful. And hopefully we can make some nice profits as well. So make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel and we continue to improve the content. Now, the markets have been going extremely well. And after a period of 100% return on ETH in like less than 2 months, of course, the markets are going to come back. And in that case, it's quite normal to see a correction taking place as we have seen in the previous week. So it's coming back down, and that is giving us opportunities to be accumulating positions if we were having liquidity in our altcoin portfolio. We don't. But if you're looking to get into ETH, then these are the opportunities that you should be looking at to be buying the dip, as Ethereum is down by approximately 10 to 15% from the high. And also the sentiment has switched, where a few weeks ago, people were shouting that Ethereum was going to go to 75k. Right now, we start seeing discussions of the bull market to be over. However, and I kind of agree with that thesis, Raoul Pal and Julien Bittel did an interview together on their channel where they start to assume that given that the rates are so high and the business cycle was basically getting extended, it's also very likely to see a lengthening cycle for crypto, which is also my prime thesis. And in that case, they say that we are in 2020. I think that we are actually at the end of 2019, if we can see that Ethereum is currently bottoming out against Bitcoin and started to have its first run, and the altcoins have barely moved. Now, what we can see with ETH is that it has been going up massively in terms of volatility. And if you're looking to be getting into a position after such a move, it's just too risky to get into it. Same can be said with gold. Right now, the same can be said with ETH. That's why we start scaling off some in our liquid fund, which if you are interested into that, make sure to check it out on our website. But now the markets are calming down and it opens up a new thesis, which is how can we start making a return and start accumulating positions. And before that, we need to discuss the correction, as the correction was quite harsh. And the prime reason for that is that we had some macroeconomic data coming in last week, which was called the Producer Price Inflation Data, PPI. Quite normally, it's not really giving a shock in the markets. This time, it provided a big shock in the markets because there was a giant miss. And what does that say? Well, the analysts predict a certain outcome for the inflation. They predicted that it was going to be 0.2%, a slight inflation increase, but the actual data was 0.9%, and the year-to-year data was also a miss by around 1%, which means that the topics of the inflation to continue to increase has increased, and then the topic surrounding rate cuts in September has basically gone down significantly, and that automatically results into risk on assets to be going down. And whatever news there is, Ethereum was going to go down anyway from that previous move, which is quite normal. And I think that this PPI data as a seasoned data point, it's going to be a temporary move through which you can utilize the dips that we're going to get. And the volatility is still significant. So if we look at ETH, we can see that we are having a case that there are 2 regions that I marked as potential buy the dip entry zones. The first area has hit, so if you're looking to accumulate, then this is the first region to do so. And it's quite normal that we're getting this type of correction in August and September, as historically these months are bad for the markets of crypto. So we can assume that we're going to get even more corrections, but during those corrections, we need to be fully allocated into the markets as we're going to approach Q4, and Q4 is historically the best period for crypto. So in that case, that is the good part. And we can add the money flow cycle on top of it. I keep repeating it because it's super important to understand that Bitcoin moves first, then Bitcoin stalls, Ethereum follows. We've seen that. Ethereum stalls, and then the large caps are going to follow through, which is the case right now. And this is also the case why we have seen large cap not moving at all, in the sense that they have been underperforming as there is still no confidence in the markets. And as we can look at the comparison between Optimism and ETH, ETH has gone up by more than 120%, but Optimism has gone up by just 20 to 30%. You can see that in the pink line that's in the chart that I'm showing here, which means that if Ethereum is going to stall, then we likely are going to get the same as what people were seeing with Bitcoin, which is people are making money by holding ETH, and that has gone back to the levels of January of earlier this year. And then the upside is quite skewed for ETH at this point, which means that people are looking to get an additional return by investing into the ecosystem. And then you can start looking into things like Optimism, which are still down around $2 from the high in December of 2024, which is kind of the same as the metric that we've seen with Solana going up, and then people starting to invest their Solana into meme coins to get an additional return. That's what we're going to get to with altcoins in the coming period. And that's why I think that in this correction, you should be investing into the ecosystem of ETH. And that's why I think that those upcoming 5 altcoins are the ones to look at and to actually get interested in. It's time to dive into the 5 altcoins that I think that are going to get a higher return than ETH in the upcoming periods. And if we want to do that, then we need to realize that we have certain verticals or segments or whatever you would call it that we need to explore to get into blue chips that are outperforming ETH. Why do I say so? Well, if you think that Ether is going to go up by 20 to 30% in the upcoming 3 to 4 months, then I think that most of the blue chips in the ETH ecosystem are having a beta that's higher than 1 compared to ETH. So that says that if ETH makes that move, goes up by 20%, then we likely could be seeing a return of 60% or more on those blue chips, as that is the window of opportunity to invest into those. So the segments that I find interesting to be investing in are the ones infra. Without infra, you can't use the ecosystem. Restaking, interoperability, because we need to connect with Bitcoin VM, Solana VM, Move VM. We need to be able to use the liquidity across the ecosystem. And of course, DeFi, which is the prime stablecoin and use case of ETH. So investing into that makes a lot of sense given that the TVL has gone up parabolic for ETH. So if we look at these 3 categories, we can spot 5 safe opportunities in the markets that haven't done anything as of yet. And the first one is one that I keep coming back to, which is Optimism. Optimism is the largest layer 2 in the ecosystem of ETH. There's a lot of upside to be made. There hasn't been any move. Base chain has been built through OP Stack, and OP is going to start up a flywheel to generate more interest into the token itself in the coming period, which is some cool info to have, which then also says that there is a lot of upside to be made in the case that, as we are looking at the chart here, Optimism is still stuck in the range for the past 5 months, which means that if we reflect that to the altcoin portfolio, at the resistance point, we could have been selling the position. Of course, in hindsight, everything is easy. The downside of the position at that point could have been 35%. But if we saw a breakout of Optimism taking place, the upside is nearly 120%. From this point, it's a little bit more different. But you can see that Ethereum has gone back to this high in price action, while optimism is still hovering around the lows, while fundamentally it has been growing. So there's a big arbitrage and mispricing taking place, and the upside from here could be 200% or maybe even more if the momentum starts to kick in. And from a technical standpoint, we can see that we still have a massive bullish divergence on the 3-day, indicating that we are likely going to skew back upwards and start breaking out to the upside, which is very positive and providing a massive opportunity. And that's why I think that from the fundamental aspect and from the technical aspect, optimism is one to watch. And if we keep on focusing into the infrastructure of Ethereum, then Arbitrum is the second one that you need to look at, given that they had big news with Robinhood building tokenized stocks on top of Arbitrum. It's also the second largest layer 2 by TVL, or I think it's even the largest by TVL. And the more Ethereum is being used, the bigger Arbitrum gets and the higher the revenues will be, which means it's also a flywheel that's likely going to get into a higher return in terms of beta play on top of ETH, where this one has clearly started to make a new uptrend here, where you could start to assume that we're going to get into a stage where it starts breaking out even heavier. The higher it comes, the heavier the breakout will be because of the liquidations that are taking place and the confidence that's in the markets. And in this case, once it breaks the entry point or the resistance at 57 cents, I would assume that we're going to get towards the same area, which is around $1.20 as the next target point. So on the USDT part and on the Bitcoin part, we can see the same bullish divergence and the same buildup looking to get into a higher momentum. And now we have three interesting ones. We have DeFi and we have restaking. So within DeFi, there are some that are doing great. Aave is doing great, but some haven't really been performing or some are having a correction. And in this case, the third one that I actually have here is Ethena, which is one of the biggest DeFi protocols in the space. It's not really related to Ethereum, but the better Ethereum does, the higher the returns will be. And it has been providing a substantial correction while starting up a new uptrend, which means that it ran all the way towards 85 cents. It's currently around 65. If we get into the region of between 45 to 55, it's ultimately a great entry point, given the fact that we're going to get more interest into DeFi as a whole. And that brings me to the fourth one, which is a new project that I haven't really discussed as of yet, but it's a combination between DeFi and AI agents, which I think it's very interesting to look at, given that it will also grow if Ethereum starts to go up, and the market cap is still relatively small, which is Giza. It's one of our personal ones that we watch within the MN Capital portfolio. We don't have a position, but Giza is currently also having a pretty heavy correction as it came all the way from 40 cents back down to 25. And if we have another leg down, this is one to accumulate, because I think that this combination is going to be giving a substantial big run when it comes to Ethereum waking up again. And the final one is also connected with the growth of ETH. Recently, we saw that a lot of staking on ETH has been taking place. Yes, a lot will be unlocked as well. But overall, the trend is up, which means that more and more ETH are getting staked. And if that is the case, then Rocket Pool is going to go up in terms of pricing. So that's the fifth one. If more ETH is getting staked, Rocket Pool is getting rewarded a higher return. And as you can see, we are also making an uptrend here, which ideally signals that we're going to get into a larger uptrend, and therefore we're going to be into a period where those 5 altcoins are likely going to provide a higher return than simply by staying in ETH. So I think that these 5 are interesting to watch. There are some new coins in there, and we will be keeping you updated on what these coins are actually going to do. This is not just another crypto event. This is where we improve your game. On September the 18th, I'm partnering up with OKX to host an exclusive crypto trading masterclass in Amsterdam. Whether you are a beginner, whether you are an experienced trader, this is where you will learn everything to improve your own game. This is what you're going to get. You're going to get a 1-hour masterclass by me with my trading strategy and my experience in the markets. We're going to do a Q&A where you can ask all the questions that you have to improve your game. And we're doing an OKX live demo of all the advanced tools that the platform can give to you as a trader. And of course, you're going to network with like-minded people, and we're going to provide food and drinks to make it a great evening. Only 120 spots. It's completely free. It's one night of exclusive content and information that you need to use. Make sure to sign up today to OKX and be part of this exclusive event. Buying altcoins is extremely risky and it's not financial advice. I have my public altcoin portfolio. With the altcoin portfolio, you can see that it doesn't go up in a straight line and you're actually down a lot of the time, and you're down with a big percentage, which basically shows that it's not as easy as you think it is. But the arguments to be buying into altcoins and the window of opportunity is here, which means that I think that the entire ecosystem of ETH is going to do well, which I think you can trade altcoins. I think you shouldn't be investing into altcoins except for ETH, except for Aave, except for Chainlink, but even those assets can go down by 80 to 90% if the market circumstances are changing. So in that case, you should be trading those altcoins, and that window of opportunity is here, which means that we will be trading on our assets actively, which means you should be trading those assets actively. So I hope you have been entertained. I hope you have been educated by those 5 altcoins and being informed. I'll see you again on Sunday when we're going to do a new altcoin portfolio update with 1 new altcoin. So make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you again on Sunday. Ciao.